Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to my number one pick, my number one album in my favorite 30 progressive rock albums of the 70s countdown, which we've been doing each and every day here in the month of June 2023. 30 days in June, my 30 favorite prog rock albums of all time. Of course, I put the limit up of only 3 albums by any one band could appear on my list, and this particular band was one of the couple that did have 3 albums on the list. This was the 5th album released by this British band, released on September 13th, 1972, recorded at Vizient Studios in London, England. Of course, how many times, for those of you watching, have you been keeping track? How many times did I mention at Vizient Studios during this countdown, right? So many cool prog rock albums were recorded there. Produced by Eddie Offord and the band for Atlantic Records. Of course, I'm talking about, I can only be talking about Close to the Edge by Yes. I've often hailed this as the greatest progressive rock album of all time. It's my favorite progressive rock album of all time. It is a landmark achievement. Only 3 songs, composed, created, and recorded and performed by John Anderson on lead vocals, Steve Howe on guitars and sitar and steel guitar backing vocals, Chris Squire bass and backing vocals, Rick Wakeman on all sorts of electric and acoustic pianos, Hammond organ, mini Moog, mellotron, harpsichord, you name it, he played it. Bill Bruford on drums and percussion. Yes, an amazing, amazing achievement. Like I mentioned, only 3 songs. Side 1, Close to the Edge, the title track. All 18 minutes and 40 some odd seconds of it, man. You know, it's just an incredible achievement. And again, kind of like, we were talking about Supper's Ready by Genesis yesterday, about how originally in the studio that was a bunch of different pieces and compositions and things that they decided to kind of piece together and make one long form song, very similar to Close to the Edge as well. This was kind of like a Frankenstein project that when they put it together, edited it together, it made perfect sense. The Solid Time of Change, Total Mass Retain, I Get Up, I Get Down, and Seasons of Man. Just the title track is so good. And Yes really like upped the ante on this album. Fragile was tremendous too, right? The Yes album tremendous too, but something about this album, it all kind of fell into place, and somehow during all of this, Bill Bruford was kind of bored and fed up with what was going on, right? How could you be bored with an album like this? But, Bill wanted to move on to do something else, and he went on to King Crimson, and that's a whole other story, right? So side 2, of course, has the gorgeous And You and I. How about that amazing guitar artistry from Steve Howe on And You and I? Just absolutely brilliant stuff. And again, comprised of a couple different parts. You got Quarter Life, Eclipse, The Preacher, The Teacher, and The Apocalypse. Right, amazing, and you and I, some gorgeous vocals from John Anderson. Wakeman's keyboards on this is just sublime. I mean, these songs are just absolute perfection. And then my favorite of all the 3 tracks on the album, I have often said that Siberian Khatru is my favorite Yes song of all time. I just love it, man. I love the haunting beginning. I love the mellotron and Squire's rumbling bass and just the Howe's guitar lines, man. Siberian Khatru is so cool. It's kind of funky. It's proggy. It's just a weird ass great song that really works. And I just love the drama that builds all throughout. The climax is amazing. Got this great acrobatic guitar solo from Steve Howe. Just incredible. I can't say enough about Close to the Edge. I feel like I've talked about it so many times over the years here on the channel and on the webzine. But it's amazing. Of course, you got Roger Dean doing the logo, and then of course on the inside as well, right? Because you got to have that, right? Tales from Topographic Oceans, perhaps, right? Which would be coming next. Yeah, amazing stuff. So let's look at the chart positions here for this particular album. In Australia, number 21. Canada, number 7. The Dutch charts, number 1. Germany, 36. Finland, 20. Italia, Sal in Italy made it to number 14. In Japan, number 16. UK, number 4. And the US Billboard, 3. So pretty good charter here. Certifications: Canada, platinum, 100,000 units sold. UK, platinum, 300,000 units sold. And the US, platinum, 1 million copies sold as of the last certification. So pretty landmark achievement. So, yeah. So that's That's it. That's the top. I'm not doing an honorable mentions for this month because there are just way too many. But just, you can be. That's our puppy Kira. She's got the squeaky football, so she's making her little noises downstairs. Anyway, yeah, so many other greats. I do want to mention. In fact, I will mention. I felt really bad that I wasn't able to squeeze any like Italian prog rock classics on this list, right? I had like 2 or 3 Banco del Mutuo Soccorso albums on my overall list. I had 3 PFM albums on my list, definitely 2, right? Premiata Fornario Marconi. I do want to mention that I had the debut or the second album from Il Balletto di Bronzo, right? I had there's a whole bunch more that I had. Felona y Serona from I'm drawing a complete blank on the name of the band. Holy cow! Wow, I got the olds. Sal will correct me, I know. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of Italian albums that I really, really was hoping to squeeze into this month, and I just kind of couldn't, because you just can only fit so many, right? You can only fit so many, and you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to go rip through some stuff I'm just going to do. And these are not all my honorable mentions. Todd Rundgren's Utopia, the very first album. So great. Jethro Tull, Minstrel in the Gallery, as well as Songs from the Wood, as well as Heavy Horses, as well as Stormwatch, Happy the Man, self-titled and Crafty Hands, ELP Trilogy, King Crimson, Starless, and Bible Black. Who else? Vandergraaf Generator, Still Life, Vandergraaf Generator, God Bluff, Yezda Urfa, their first album, England Garden Shed. I mentioned Banco, the first album, Il Sono Nato Libero, Peronomico and Storia di Uno Minuto from PFM, Il Balletto di Bronzo, Ease, Caravan in the Land of Grey and Pink, Nectar, A Tab in the Ocean, Nectar, Remember the Future, Eloy, Silent Cries and Mighty Echoes, as well as Oceans. There's so many more. That's just some of them. But it's just, there's, Renaissance, Songs of Scheherazade, as well as Ashes Are Burning. Camel the Snow Goose. Man, we can go on and on here, right? So I'm just kind of looking at all the other bands that made my list. Kansas, Song for America, Mask, first album. Supertramp got a bunch. Gentle Giant, Jesus, Three Friends. I heard it. Free Hand, Power and the Glory in a Glass House, Acquiring the Taste. I could have had 6. Albums from Gentle Giant, Pink Floyd, of course. I think I mentioned the 3 big ones, but there's always others. Obscured by Clouds, another great one. Metal, fantastic. Yes, Fragile, of course. Genesis, Trick of the Tail, Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, Wind and Wuthering, Trespass, for crying out loud, right? Just so many great ones. But you got my major ones, and that's my absolute favorites, and that's the important thing. So I want to thank everybody for watching along all month long. I had way better attention to these videos every morning in this series than I ever thought we would get. We're averaging like 7,000 to 8,000 to 9,000 people every day watching these, and that's way more than I expected. I figured I had no clue that these would do better than even the 80s metal show, which did very, very well as well. Pretty much the same type of numbers. So let's keep it going for next month, right? So next month, of course, we're switching gears to a style of music, but we're staying in the 70s, right? So next month we're doing my favorite. We got 31 days in July, so my favorite 31 hard rock and metal albums of the 70s. And again, I'll preface it again. I talked a little bit about it yesterday and the day before. There's a fine line between what's rock and hard rock, right? We kind of know what the metal stuff is. 70s was the formative days of metal. The usual suspects, right? You're going to see all of them. But then, hard rock and metal, and then what's not quite hard rock, right? So there are bands that, for me, they may have had some songs that qualify as hard rock, but they were just rock bands, right? Just regular rock bands, right? That did all, acoustic stuff and electric stuff. They did boogie, they did hard rock, they did blues, that sort of thing. So there's this kind of like a fine line between what I consider just a rock band and a hard rock band. Like I said, there's a couple of bands. I think many of you know the couple of suspects that I'm thinking about here that I want to include next month, but I'm not going to because they just, to me, they're just not quite on that hard rock and metal trajectory. They're not really all that heavy, even though they have their rockin' moments, right? I'm going to save those bands for what we're probably going to do either in August or September. I keep coming up with all these, so because I'm also going to do my favorite albums of the 60s. That may or may not come next. I don't know which one of these I'm going to do, but I'm going to do my favorite rock albums of the 70s. And that's where, there's lots of bands that then can be included that are, just rock bands. They're not heavy. They're not proggy, right? They're just good old-fashioned rock bands. So I think that's probably going to be the plan for. I think I'm going to do that in August. We're going to keep this 70s thing going. So August is going to be my however many days we're in August, 30 or 31. Haven't looked. My 30 or 31 favorite rock albums of the 70s. Just rock albums, right? Not hard rock, not metal, not prog, not fusion. And then probably in September, I will do my favorite albums of the 60s, okay? And that could encompass anything, right? Whatever. It's all up for grabs. So yeah. So let us know what you think of Close to the Edge in the comments below, as well as your pick for number one, right? Your favorite prog album of all time, or favorite prog album from the 70s specifically. And visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, all together, all the damn time. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and click on that notification bell so you get alert of all of our content as it posts. And please do hit the like button before you leave. Also, down below, we got the links to our Ko-Fi page for channel donations, as well as our merch page. So thanks in advance for all your help and support there. And we'll see you real soon here on the channel. I am Pete Pardo. Tune in tomorrow for my pick number 31 of my favorite 31 hard rock and metal albums of the 70s. And stay tuned in just a little bit for myself and Martin Popoff as we enter into the Funhouse. We got Ken Golden and I coming up this afternoon with some new releases in prog metal and fusion that Ken's got available starting today. Also, I'll have the next installment of those great 6-album runs happening for you today as well. That'll probably come up premiering tonight on the channel. What do we got coming up? Tomorrow, the UK Connection. Simon, Steven, and myself will be back together again. And then Sunday, I will be ranking the albums of Gravy Train. So stay tuned for all that and more here on Sea of Tranquility. Thanks again, everybody. Hope you enjoyed this show here in June. We'll see you in July, right? Take care. Bye-bye.